Hello. Well, as you may know, we're in the budget season right now here in DC, and as it turns out, Mayor Vincent Gray's proposed budget cuts $7 million from homeless services. Now, for those who don't understand the impact of losing those $7 million, well, presently, DC shelters the homeless year-round. But without those $7 million, we're going to get scaled back to just 5 months worth of shelter, the 5 coldest months from November 1st through March 31st. And from April 1st through Halloween, October 31st, you're going to have hundreds more homeless people on the street. Now, the point in time count was done in January 26th, and the results were just issued about a week ago. And it turns out that DC on January 26th of 2012 had 6,954 homeless people, which is 408 more than we had that time last year. I'm sure it's bypassed 7,000 at this point. But at any rate, we have a large and growing crisis. More than 1% of the population of the city is homeless. And hundreds more of them are going to be on the street if we lose this money. And on top of that, transitional housing programs will get cut in half. The funding for homeless feeding programs will be cut in half. And we don't have enough money being invested in workforce development for the homeless either. And so folk are always saying how the homeless just go out and get a job, but many of them try to get jobs, but have many challenges finding jobs. And when they find jobs, they have difficulty finding affordable housing that they can actually pay for out of pocket with the jobs that they have. Many of them actually do work. But that said, you know, we're going to have an even bigger crisis if we can't get those $7 million put back in. And therefore, I want to let the general public know about this crisis so that you can all contact your council member and let them know that they should put this money back in for homeless services with an emphasis on workforce development. So we don't just want to maintain homelessness. Many folk are not sympathetic to that sort of thing, just maintaining the homeless. The homeless don't want to be maintained. They want to get out of homelessness. So let's invest in workforce development on top of that. And also, I want to give a shout out to different council members and to the council chairman about meeting with you. I'd like to meet with you and discuss this impending crisis and what's going to happen if that money is not restored. I don't want to hear you tell me about the wish list and how that you might put the money back in January. I want something certain. I want to sit down with you and really talk this thing over. Last year, we were talking about the budget for the present fiscal year. And at that time, it was said that we had a $20.5 million budget shortfall for homeless services. Somebody found $17 million and put it back in, and the shelters were saved. That's why we have shelter today in May of 2012. If we hadn't fought last year, then the shelters would have been closed down on April 1st of this year, which is already passed. And now we're fighting this year for next year. And last year, there was a lot of talk about the crisis that would unfold if the money wasn't put back in for homeless services. And we got that money put back in, most of it, 85% of it. And this year, though, we're not hearing that same kind of conversation. Everyone's so excited about what things did get the funding put back in that they're forgetting about homeless services not getting the funding replaced. And so I want to remind you of what we didn't get back and get people stirred up about this, get them doing something about it. And so contact your council person. We need the media to really get on this and to really put the story out there and let folk know that it's not just the homeless who will be affected by this. You're going to have more of them in the storefronts, and they might end up going to jail for their survival techniques that they use just to stay alive in the streets. And we don't want this kind of thing. We want real solutions to homelessness. And also, there was the furlough. Now, the council furloughed city employees, and they saved $20 million. Now they're going to pay back the people who got furloughed, and those $20 million could be better spent. We could put $7 million toward preserving the shelters and the feeding programs. We could put $13 million into workforce development, and we could actually greatly decrease the number of homeless here in DC. I'm always harping about the fact that we had a 10-year plan to end homelessness, which took effect in December of 2004. And then almost 4 years later, the economy went downhill. And when that plan was developed in 2004, nothing was said about workforce development, about getting the homeless connected to jobs. Now, the homeless advocates are not asking for a handout, we're asking for a hand up. And so we need to maintain shelters while we get people working. We need to maintain shelters while we get people getting their lives together. But let's not pull the rug out from under them, because it's going to be bad for the entire city. It's going to be bad for business. It's going to look bad on the city. And so let's get out there, and you advocates out there, you need to really begin to organize around this thing. Don't just let it fall off your radar, but actually stay in the face of the council about this thing and really make them address it. And in the meantime, the homeless people should be made aware of this so that they know what's going to happen to them, so that they can take measures to either find employment or find somewhere else to stay, because otherwise this city is going to be really ugly on April 1st of 2013.